I just have like an interest in like interviewing, and I love when we see like true personality come out from players, but also when we get like more depth. I would love to just see like dive into the players' minds, because so often when players read opinions about themselves, you're like, but you guys don't get it. There's a nuance. Even just now, I spent literally half an hour talking to Froggen about like how LCS drives too many stories and they don't understand the players and everything can change and there's this nuance. And then I have to explain to him, well, there's like 10 teams here, right? How can we get all the nuances right and get into personalities of the players? I don't think the third parties are necessarily doing something wrong, but I think there is an avenue for people to just dive in deeper, look into the nuance, look into the depth, like see what's going on in the heads of the players in specific key moments of the games. But it's quite hard, especially I think in a media landscape where everything is basically based around a title, a quote, and then a Reddit post. Because Reddit is such a good content aggregator that if you don't thrive there, from like a business point of view, like it might not be worth for you to put all the effort into the interviews, because if you don't have the right timing, the right quote, it may just not like get you the revenue or the hits that you need. And I think that sometimes generates like an environment where depth is not like pursued as much. Can't really think on the top of my head. I just have like I have a fascination for some stupid concepts. You know, like there was the whole level one doing Krugs meme and people make fun of it. Like I loved bot lane laning for a while. I love Vision Baron setups, but there has to be like the players must be thinking on a level that is so far goes beyond even my thinking right now, because I've been playing or have not been playing rather for so long, that there has to be things that they're thinking about or approaching the game in a certain way, or feelings, whether it's practice environments. Like I just got told like Froggen, for example, plays with white noise in his ears, you know, and I just never thought about that teams were mimicking stage as well as they were right now. There's so much to explore if we just get to like get in the minds of the players, that I feel there's definitely a way or an avenue a lot of people could go for. I think they help a lot. I think we have plenty of personality in Europe. I think it's just a bit of a meme, like EU has no personality. But I think to make personality shine, everybody needs to chip in, whether it's the players doing it through streaming, content, social media, whether it's us doing these general desk segments, whether it's our features team putting out a lot of exciting content, you know, where they can, whether it's organizations pushing out content, whether it's the fans buying into it and sharing, hey, you know, I like this. And I think the biggest thing is once you notice that there is a perceived lack of personality, you can only solve it a year from now. The work we're doing right now will bear fruits maybe a year from now, a year and a half. And that's the problem with like long-term issues, is that everybody looks for a quick solution. But like these are issues that will span many years, you know, and we're, if it even is an issue, I don't think it's as big of a problem, but I can definitely see where the perception stems from. And we're obviously actively trying to showcase some of the more funny players, because I think we have a wealth of like really fun guys, especially because in Europe we have this kind of culture where sometimes we go out, and especially last year, you know, after the games, and you get to meet these people, not the players, but the guys behind it, you know. And I've had so much fun just like talking mostly about the game, you know, people like Sven, Mythy, Trashy, like Yankos. These are all fantastic personalities. Like Reckless and Febevan, when they're in the right setting, can also open up just so much. And I think we just need to find good ways to enable these players and make the fans appreciate the other side of just the playing. So yeah, I think when people say EU has no personality is because EU has no long-standing members that like go back all the way. When you counter their argument, does NA have it? They will say like, yeah, we have people like Doublelift, right? This is a player that spans multiple seasons, obviously has been very outspoken and could back it up with skill. Well, sadly, we have some of those players, but we've lost them to NA. Like, if Froggen would still be in Europe, Bjergsen would still be in Europe, Alex Each would still be in Europe. If Diamondbox still could be playing in Europe despite visa issues, we would have plenty of personality. The problem is we lost some of these players, we lost some of these organizations, and it is now going to require time and effort to build up new players or put more of a spotlight on the existing ones. And then I'm looking at people like Yankos. He's already getting traction. I think some of the Spice guys are incredibly funny. I think Sven has a great sense of humor. Odawana has a great sense of humor. The problem is a lot of these guys make really dark jokes that are often not suited for broadcast, so we need to coach them on the filter, and they get inspired to kind of go outside and kind of be themselves, and there's obviously a little bit of trash talk involved, and then it gets shut down immediately. And these players, they just crawl back into their shell. They're like, I'm only going to focus on the game, I'm only going to focus on results. Streaming doesn't matter because like win is the mentality, but there can only be one winner. And in the long run, I think it affects them a little bit like brand-wise too. Like I think I look at the Unicorns of Love, and I love that they respect like the safety of their players in sense of like, if they don't want to do anything, they don't have to. But like after like 4 years, I feel like I should know more about Hillesang, should know more about Chachi. So I think it's part us, part players, part organizations that could push these things more. But overall, I don't think we lack personality at all. I think maybe at best we lack a spotlight. I think it's a lot more about psychology than it is about the game. I think every single coach from season 3 and onwards were like retired pros that had like game elements down and were trying to teach people how to rotate. But in the end, it's about bonding a group of players, forcing them to at least respect each other and get behind the wagon, and work towards a common goal. Very often when there is conflict after like a replay or something, it's one player versus the other, right? Opinion versus each other. Instead of saying like, what? Do we both agree that we want to become the best team in the world? Yes. Then why are we not at the same side of the table looking at the problem together and finding how we can both like facilitate each other? And that sounds like such an easy concept, but it gets lost so quickly. And I think coaching is all about just like squeezing the most talent you can out of a player, but also combining all these different styles into a unit that works. I think it's still very much so underdeveloped and undercredited, and I wish we could just have more time, because I think the West needs a lot more time when it comes to coaching, bringing in whether it's like sports psychologists or refined sports coaches or former pro gamers that have lived through it but also have gone away for enough. Because when you're in the scene, you have this kind of close-up view that is so distorted and colored by your own opinions, and when you're not in the scene, you only have the top-down view. But essentially, you need people to have both. I think that's why Korea is so successful too, with former Broodbar players really stepping in. Like, they know what it is to grind, but they also know what it is to look at an esports from the outside point of view. I think that's quite interesting, because I went through the path of where I was an analyst desk guest member. No matter what I did, it was like, oh, Krepo was so great on the desk as a player, because I was a struggling player, but a good, I guess, desk figure, because I worked with like some really good people, like Monte Cristo also allowed me to shine so often, that when I left actually and I just started casting, I got thrown into a lot of games immediately, and I ran out of things to say. So I started repeating myself. My speech wasn't as clear, and I got hella shit talked. So many people hate me because I also have a polarizing identity in like solo queue. I'm quite the cocky player. I stand by a lot of my statements. But I think that's okay. I think every caster has to go through that. Every figure will just get a ton of hate. And that's fine, like how can I expect to be good? Like if I respect my craft, right? If I respect casting, nowhere in the world should I even think to be remotely decent after 1 year or 2 years. How could this actually be a nice craft if I could, after 2 years, already be one of the best? No way. Like there's no way. So I'm just gonna eat shit along the way and get trash talked and just try and improve. And luckily I work with like one of the best examples in Deficio, who I will never catch. Because to catch somebody who's better than you need to work twice as hard as him. And this guy already works like near the limit and also quite efficient, so I'll never catch him. But he's a great friend, and he doesn't rub that in, so that's fantastic. So I don't really mind it, because I look to my peers. I look at my progression path that I've set out for myself and ask myself, am I on track? Yes. Great. Will people still hate me? Yes. And slowly it's moved from kind of the kind of Krepo dislike and hatred to kind of when they mention good and bad casters, what they always do. I'm not really mentioned anymore. It's like, oh, these guys are great, these guys are shit. I think it's really bad when people like trash talk other casters. But I can see myself slowly moving up in kind of the appreciation, and I'm just trying to perfect my craft. Meanwhile, I do know some of the newer casters struggle with it, because it's really tough to come to terms with that people may not like you at the start, and you may have to go through that necessary progression. But it's just part of the craft, I think.
For more league interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.